A warm hospital room filled with soft, golden light. Two exhausted mothers finally smiling, each cradling a newborn miracle in her arms. And at the foot of the bed, a loyal German shepherd rests proudly, the hero who stood between them and death itself. But how did a blizzard, a crashed car, and a night full of terror become a story of faith, courage, and two lives saved? Who sent this brave dog to protect mothers who were left behind? And why did fate bring strangers together at the exact moment they needed each other most? Before we begin, tell me where you're watching from. Drop your country in the comments. And if you believe no mother and no child should ever face the storm alone, hit subscribe and join us for this incredible true story. Winter in Silver Creek showed no mercy that year. The mountain town, nestled among jagged pines and silent frozen lakes in northern Colorado, had surrendered entirely to ice and wind. Snow piled over rooftops, and the cold cut through coats like punishment. On a narrow, dimly lit street lived Emily Carter, a 30-year-old woman with a body swollen in late pregnancy and a heart even heavier. Emily had once been the kind of woman whose laughter filled a room, the type with warm hazel eyes that always looked like they kept a secret dream. Her dark brown hair, thick and once carefully styled back in sunny California, now hung loosely past her shoulders, tangled from sleepless nights. She was tall but soft with pregnancy, her hands constantly resting on the large curve of her belly, as if shielding her unborn child from the harshness of the world that had betrayed them. She had moved to Silver Creek 8 months ago for love, following Mark, the man she believed would build a life with her. Mark Bennett had seemed charming at first, a confident, broad-shouldered contractor in his mid-30s, with tousled blonde hair and a jaw darkened by stubble. He laughed easily, had a way of looking at a future and convincing others they'd be there too. But responsibility terrified him more than he admitted. When Emily told him about the baby, fear hollowed him out. Slowly, arguments replaced promises. One morning, just as the first snowstorm swallowed the town, he walked out, leaving behind nothing but a short message. "I'm not ready for this." That abandonment dug into Emily's core like ice. She didn't know whether she hated him more for leaving her, or for the fact that she still remembered the warmth of his hands holding hers beneath bright California sunlight. Her only true companion in this frozen exile was Scout, a 4-year-old German shepherd with thick black and tan fur and sharp amber eyes that scanned danger before it even breathed. His ears always alert, his body powerful and athletic from what seemed like years of dedicated training. Scout had belonged to Mark originally, but when Mark left, Scout had stayed. Maybe he had chosen Emily, or maybe he sensed she needed him more now than ever. Scout was loyal without question, without fear, and Emily loved him like family. But loyalty didn't buy groceries. Every morning, Emily battled the same dread, dwindling savings, the baby's kicks reminding her of time running out, and job applications rejected due to her belly showing before she could even finish a sentence. Even standing too long sent pain crawling up her spine. The town doctor, a stern woman named Dr. Karen Whitlock, Thin glasses, stiff posture, and silver hair always pinned into a tight bun, warned Emily that her blood pressure was climbing dangerously high. "You need rest, Emily," she said, her voice clipped yet genuinely concerned. "Stress isn't just hurting you, it's hurting the baby." Rest felt like defeat, and Emily had already lost too much. That night, the wind screamed while the heater rattled weakly in her small rented cabin. Emily sat wrapped in a frayed blanket, sipping lukewarm tea, trying to convince herself that tomorrow might be kinder. Scout paced by the window, growling low at the storm as flakes slammed hard against the glass. Emily forced a thin smile and reached down to scratch his ear. "I get it," she murmured. "This town scares me too." The clock ticked past midnight. The lights flickered. Emily thought about California, about ocean sunsets and warm sidewalks, about friends who didn't call anymore because distance and heartbreak made them unsure what to say. Her chest tightened with loneliness so fierce she had to close her eyes against tears. Then Scout froze. His ears shot up. He stalked to the door, muscles stiff, tail pointing like an arrow. "What is it?" Emily whispered, her pulse jumping. A sound pierced the storm, distant, unnatural. Scout barked sharply, once, twice, and then suddenly unleashed a howl that vibrated through Emily's bones. Without waiting, he shoved his weight against the door. "Scout!" she cried. But he slipped out as soon as the door cracked, disappearing into the blinding white fury outside. Panic shot through Emily. She grabbed her coat, struggling to zip it over her belly, and followed the paw prints sinking quickly under fresh snow. The wind whipped her face raw. "Scout! Come back!" She stumbled after him into the edge of the forest, dark trunks looming like giants. Scout was ahead, digging frantically at something buried in the snow. Emily forced her trembling legs to move faster until she reached him, and then she saw it. A cell phone, half buried, smeared with something dark. Blood. Before she could process the horror tightening in her throat, the screen lit up. It vibrated violently in the Scout's jaws. It was ringing. The phone kept vibrating in Emily's shaking hands, its cracked screen glowing like a dying star against the darkness. Snow swirled furiously around her, the wind clawing at her face. She swallowed hard, pressing the phone closer to her ear, hoping for a voice, any voice. But only static responded, like a distant scream choked by the storm. Scout nudged her thigh, his breath steaming in the cold as he stared into the tree line, ears taut, tail stiff with warning. Emily tapped the message icon again, reading the words that chilled her deeper than the winter air ever could. "Help. The baby. I'm trapped. Raven's Point Cave." Her chest tightened with terror and painful recognition. Another pregnant woman, another life, 2 lives, on the edge of being erased by indifference. She imagined a terrified stranger struggling alone while the world looked away, the same way Emily had been abandoned. Her fingers ached as she dialed 911, but the call crackled and died. No signal. Through the static, a faint automated response flickered. "Service unavailable." "No, no, please," she whispered, trying again. Nothing. The emergency line was unreachable in this blizzard. Scout barked sharply, directing her attention to the main road, now a labyrinth of white dunes. Emily knew she had only one option: find help. She dragged herself and the dog back toward town, snow swallowing each step like a warning. At the small police station, just a converted log cabin with a single flickering porch light, she banged on the door with frantic strength. Inside, Officer Tom Grady emerged, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He was a man in his late 40s, thick-shouldered with a greying beard that looked hastily trimmed and tired eyes that hinted at old sadness. Tom had once been a respected search and rescue member until a failed mission during last year's avalanche left him with a limp and a wounded pride. Now he mostly handled petty calls and paperwork. "Emily?" he said, surprised. Snow clung to her eyelashes like crystals. "You shouldn't be out in this weather, especially not in your condition." "A woman," Emily gasped, thrusting the phone at him. "She's trapped. She needs help. She's pregnant. Ravens Point Cave. Please, she might die." Tom scanned the screen, brows furrowing. His skepticism was immediate. "Ravens Point? That ridge is closed off. No one goes out there in a blizzard unless they're looking for trouble. And who says this isn't some prank?" Emily stared at him, stunned. "Look at the phone. There's blood on it." But Tom's fear wasn't for Emily. He feared being responsible again, failing again. And so he hid behind protocol. "There's no signal verification, no ID on the caller." He exhaled, voice flat, rehearsed. "We'll send a patrol once the storm clears." "The storm could last days." Emily's voice cracked. "She doesn't have days." Scout barked fiercely, stepping between Emily and the officer, as if accusing him of cowardice. Tom avoided her gaze. "Go home, Emily. Rest. Let emergency services handle emergencies." Her heart dropped into a cold pit. The sharp sting of betrayal, again, pressed tears into her vision. But despair quickly hardened into fury. If no one would help her, she would help herself. She turned away sharply, calling Scout with a trembling whistle. The dog stayed planted a moment longer, glaring up at Tom with a low growl before reluctantly following Emily back into the storm. The forest loomed like an ocean of shadows. Scout lowered his snout, tracking a scent Emily couldn't see but trusted with everything she had left. Her flashlight flickered weakly against the white chaos. Branches creaked like bones above them. Snowflakes hit her face like needles. "Please, be there," she whispered. She wasn't sure if she meant the woman or her own courage. Every step brought stabbing pain up her spine. Her baby shifted inside her, tiny kicks slowed by fear and cold, reminding her that two hearts depended on her strength holding together. Scout suddenly stopped at the edge of a steep ridge. Emily struggled to catch her breath as she crawled closer, sweeping the flashlight downward. There, through the raging storm, she saw it. A vehicle overturned in the ravine, roof crushed against jagged rocks, headlights flickering like a dying heartbeat beneath layers of ice. Emily's blood turned to ice. Scout snarled, fur rising on his back as the wind carried a faint metallic scent. Fear and gasoline and something far worse. From below, barely audible, a cry tore through the storm. A woman's voice, hoarse, weak, pleading. Emily's breath shuddered. Someone was alive down there. and she had led Emily here. Emily's voice echoed down the ravine, thin and trembling as the storm swallowed her words. "Hello? Can you hear me? I'm here to help." For a moment, there was only the howl of wind. Then a broken reply clawed its way up from the shadows below, barely recognizable as speech, but unmistakably desperate. The baby," a woman's voice, weak, afraid. Scout barked and sprinted along the ridge, searching for a safer descent. Emily forced her unsteady legs to follow, clutching her belly as waves of pain rippled through her back. Each breath steamed into the air, vanishing instantly. Her heart hammered not only with fear, but with a flicker of determination she hadn't felt in months. Someone needed her, someone like her. Scout eventually found a narrow path buried under snow. Emily slid down on her side, boots scraping rock, grabbing at branches to slow her descent. She reached the wrecked vehicle, a dark SUV lying on its side like a wounded beast. The front windshield was shattered, metal twisted inward. One headlight sputtered weakly, casting a ghostly flicker across the snow. Inside, a woman lay slumped against the passenger door. Annabelle Jones, Emily would later learn her name, appeared to be in her late 20s, with fair skin washed pale by shock and long blonde hair matted with blood. Her lips trembled with each shallow breath. Her eyes, blue but clouded with terror, darted toward Emily as if expecting a monster instead of a rescuer. Emily forced her voice steady. "I'm Emily. I'm here. You're not alone." She reached into the broken window, brushing glass aside to touch Annabelle's cold hand. Annabelle flinched at even gentle contact, the movement sending pain through her abdomen. Only then did Emily notice the curve beneath Annabelle's torn coat. Another mother, heavily pregnant, at least 8 months like her. "Please," Annabelle whispered, her voice fractured. "Don't let him take my baby." Tears streaked her dirt-stained cheeks. "He said, if the baby was born, it wouldn't be his anymore." Her breath hitched on a sob. "He wants to get rid of us." Emily froze. "Who wants to get rid of you?" But Annabelle clamped her mouth shut, as though saying the name aloud might make the nightmare materialize faster. Scout paced anxiously outside the vehicle, ears pinned back, every muscle coiled. He snapped his head up suddenly, snarling toward the darkness beyond the broken trees. Emily glanced up the slope. Her stomach turned. Through the blizzard's blur, dim beams of headlights cut through the swirling snow. Another vehicle, engine rumbling like a hunting animal, tires grinding over ice. Annabelle's breathing accelerated into frantic, rapid gasps. "He found us," she whimpered. "My husband, Kyle." Panic surged through her voice. "He tried to kill us. He'll finish it this time. Please, don't let him hurt the baby." Emily's mind raced. She knew what betrayal felt like. She knew how cruelty could live behind a smile. But murder? That was a horror she had never imagined sharing with anyone. "Annabelle," she said firmly, gripping her shoulders, "I'm not letting anyone hurt you. Not tonight." The headlights crept closer. Emily scooted backward from the SUV, scanning the snowy ground for anything, any tool or weapon. Scout planted himself between the two women and the approaching danger, fangs exposed, hackles raised into a fierce ridge of defiance. The vehicle stopped at the ridge above, doors slamming. Heavy footsteps trudged toward them. A voice sliced through the storm, deep, sharp, angry. "Annabelle!" The man who appeared was tall, maybe 6'2", with broad shoulders wrapped in a thick black parka. His face was harshly angled, cheekbones sharp beneath unshaven stubble. Kyle Jones looked built from stone and fury. Late 30s, dark hair plastered to his forehead by snow, blue eyes so cold they outmatched the winter around them. Something about the way he scanned the scene, not with concern but calculation, sent ice up Emily's spine. He wasn't here to rescue. He was here to confirm a burial. "Who the hell are you?" Kyle demanded when he spotted Emily. His gaze flicked to her stomach, then to Annabelle trapped inside the wreck. "You need to step away. My wife is confused. She's caused enough problems tonight." Annabelle sobbed. "He pushed me. He wanted us gone." Kyle's expression snapped into something darker, uglier. Rage twisted his face. "You don't know what she's capable of," he growled, taking a menacing step forward. Scout lunged, teeth bared in a warning snarl that echoed up the ravine. Kyle pulled something from his coat. Emily's heart slammed painfully when she saw metal glint beneath the flashlight's flicker. A gun. She instinctively shielded her belly, stumbling backward. Scout positioned himself between Emily and the weapon, his body the only barrier. Snow whipped around them like 1,000 screaming voices. Kyle's voice was ice. "Get away from them, now!" Emily's pulse roared in her ears. She could run, abandon the woman and her unborn child, and maybe save her own. But something fierce burned inside her, a fire motherhood had ignited. She steadied herself, voice trembling but unbroken. "We're not going anywhere." Kyle's finger tightened on the trigger. Scout growled, a promise that blood would be shed to protect his humans. And beneath them, Annabelle screamed, "He's going to kill us!" Scout's growl cut through the storm like a blade. His body crouched low, muscles taut, amber eyes locked on Kyle Jones, the man whose very presence turned the blizzard colder. Emily pressed her back against the crushed door of the wrecked SUV, arm curled protectively around her belly as fear clawed up her ribs. The wind hurled snow around them like shards of glass. Inside the vehicle, Annabelle trembled violently, clutching her swollen stomach, her breath coming in quick, terrified gasps. Her skin was alabaster under the flickering headlight, her light hair damp with melted snow and streaked with blood. The storm, the overturned car, the injured woman, everything felt like a nightmare Emily had been dragged into without warning. Kyle took a slow step forward, boots crunching the snow with ominous deliberation. His harsh face, already cut with a permanent scowl, twisted in disdain. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," he snarled, voice raw with entitlement. His coat flapped violently in the wind, revealing broad shoulders and a stance that suggested a man used to overpowering others, physically and mentally. In his clenched, gloved hand, a black pistol reflected the trembling flashlight beam from Emily's hand. "My wife is sick," he lied through his teeth. "Dangerous. She crashed the car on purpose." Annabelle whimpered. He loosened the brakes. I heard him on the phone. He said this baby wasn't worth the trouble. Shut up! Kyle barked. His rage cracked through the storm, making both women flinch. But Scout didn't. Scout stepped forward, a low rumble shaking his chest. Kyle scoffed. Move, mutt! Then Scout spotted it. A black duffel bag half buried in the snow beside Kyle's tracks. He bolted forward, teeth tearing at the zipper. The bag spilled open. A red gas can and a lighter clattered into the snow. Proof. Horrifying, undeniable proof. Emily's pulse spiked with adrenaline, her throat closing around a choked breath. Kyle's face contorted, caught. His blue eyes narrowed into lethal slits. You should have stayed out of this, he hissed, lifting the gun. Time tore in half. Scout lunged. The gun fired. A deafening crack exploded through the ravine. Emily screamed. Scout yelped, momentum thrown off as he hit the snow, sliding but not stopping. He clamped his jaws around Kyle's wrist, shaking violently enough to force the gun upward. Kyle cursed, swinging wildly. Scout held on with a primal ferocity born of loyalty and instinct to protect. Blood, Kyle's, splattered onto the snow. Emily's mind raced. Her baby thrashed inside her as if sensing danger. She wanted to run, to hide, to protect the little life inside her. But Annabelle's terrified eyes begged for strength. Kyle wrenched free, firing again. The shot tore past Scout, burying itself into the metal of the wreckage. The flash illuminated his face, rage disfiguring every feature. Scout backed away, a dark stain spreading across his fur near the shoulder. The injury wasn't fatal, but Emily felt pain rip through her chest, as if the bullet had pierced her instead. Kyle advanced again. Emily's trembling hand plunged blindly into the snow and landed on something hard, a frozen tree branch thick enough to be a weapon. She staggered to her feet, pain shooting down her spine. "Stay back!" she shouted, voice shaking but loud enough to rise over the wind. Kyle laughed, a cruel, unhinged sound. "You really think you can stop me? You're just a scared, pathetic—" Emily swung. The branch cracked against his forearm, making him drop the lighter. He stumbled, shocked she dared fight back. "I'm not scared anymore," Emily growled, jaw clenched. "Not of you, not of anything." Scout, wounded but fierce, lunged again, teeth sinking into Kyle's coat and dragging him sideways. Kyle lost balance, falling onto his back in the snow. Emily grabbed the gas can and threw it down the slope. Annabelle sobbed inside the wreck, her voice raw with pain. "My contractions, they're getting worse. Please, Emily, my baby." The world tilted. Emily's hand flew to her belly as tightening pain gripped her, sharp, deep, real. Contraction. Not now. God, not now. Kyle kicked Scout away and scrambled to his feet, wild eyes darting down the slope where the gas can had vanished. Without warning, he turned and sprinted toward the other vehicle, the one he arrived in, yanking the door open. He wasn't leaving. He was regrouping. The engine roared to life. Through the swirling snow, his headlights angled back toward them. He was coming to finish what he started. Emily dragged Scout toward the SUV, adrenaline overpowering agony. "We'll get through this," she whispered to both her baby and the brave dog leaning against her for balance. Annabelle's screams intensified. "The baby! She's coming!" Kyle revved the engine, tires spinning deeper into the ice. Emily's flashlight flickered out. Only the storm's roar remained. The real battle had just begun. Kyle's engine roared as he spun the wheels toward them, headlights slicing through the swirling blizzard. Emily braced her hand against the icy wreck, shielding her belly as she forced herself upright, every muscle trembling with exhaustion and fear. Scout staggered to his feet, one shoulder blood-soaked, but his stance unwavering. He growled with a loyalty only a dog's heart could hold. Inside the vehicle, Annabelle's screams sharpened, contractions tearing through her body as she clutched her stomach, face pale beneath blood and frost. Snowflakes clung to her eyelashes, melting into terrified tears. The SUV Kyle drove barreled forward, tires skidding on ice, his face twisted with desperation and rage, his jaw clenched so tight a muscle twitched furiously under the stubble roughening his skin. His hair, dark and soaked, clung to his forehead like a madman's crown. His breath poured out in angry clouds. This was not a man who intended to fail. Emily saw the end bearing down on them. She refused to accept it. The instant Kyle jumped out of the car, gun raised, Emily acted. She lunged forward with the last burst of strength fear could give. She slammed into him, her shoulder ramming his chest. Pain knifed down her spine. Her body screamed, but she didn't let go. She tackled him into the snow, landing hard enough to knock the air from both of them. Kyle roared, trying to shove her off, spitting curses. "You stupid!" Scout flew at him, fangs bared, sinking into Kyle's wrist just as he aimed the gun again. The weapon fired, a thunderous blast that echoed through the ravine like a storm inside a storm. The recoil sent the gun spinning out of Kyle's grasp, clattering into the snow. Kyle kicked wildly, his boot connecting with Scout's wounded side. The dog yelped, rolling in pain but scrambling back to his paws, still ready to defend. Suddenly, light, flashing beams cutting through the darkness. Voices, real voices, urgent and commanding. "Police! Drop your hands where we can see them!" Officer Tom Grady slid down the slope with two younger deputies, each gripping rifles. Tom's weathered face, usually worn with quiet resignation, now flashed with determination and guilt. He had realized too late that Emily was telling the truth. His grey beard caught the snow as he shouted, "Kyle Jones! Don't move!" Kyle ignored him, scrambling for the gun. But Scout launched again, pinning Kyle down just long enough for the officers to tackle and cuff him. Kyle screamed threats that were swallowed by the wind, but it didn't matter anymore. His power was gone. Emily collapsed to her knees, breath breaking into sobs. Relief, fear, exhaustion, all crashing at once. Tom rushed to her side. For the first time, she saw empathy in his tired brown eyes. "You did good," he muttered, steadying her by the shoulders. "You saved them." A medic knelt beside Annabelle, assessing her injuries swiftly. His name tag read Calvin Reyes, a young man with warm skin, short cropped black hair, and a calmness that pushed back the chaos. "She's in active labor. We need her at the hospital now," he announced, voice steady but urgent. 2 lives hanging in the balance. Emily's vision blurred. She gripped the bundled blanket a deputy handed her to press against her belly. The world was spinning, her pulse rapid and uneven. "We need to transport you too," Calvin said firmly. "You're contracting, and with your blood pressure—" She nodded, too drained to argue. Scout nuzzled her hand, whining softly, his loyalty a heartbeat beside her. Bright fluorescent lights, warmth, voices becoming shapes, then shapes becoming people. Emily blinked herself awake in a hospital bed, the sterile scent of antiseptic mixing with lingering fear. Scout lay on a blanket beside the bed, his shoulder bandaged, his tail thumping weakly when their eyes met. A curtain rustled. Beside her, Annabelle lay in another bed. Strands of clean blonde hair framed her face, still tired, still bruised, but alive. She turned her head, managing a fragile smile. "We made it." Her voice was raspy but filled with gratitude so genuine it nearly broke Emily. Emily reached across the gap between their beds. Annabelle grasped her hand tightly. "We saved each other," Annabelle breathed. The door swung open. A nurse with short, curly hair and freckles, Nurse Riley, badge reading L. Riley, stepped in carrying a pair of tiny hats and a soft pastel blanket. "Well, ladies," she said with a soft, joyous grin, "you both have someone very eager to meet you." Emily's heart seemed to stop, then race. A cry, small, powerful, demanding to be heard, filled the room. Emily's tears spilled freely as a nurse placed a warm, perfect baby girl into her arms. Her daughter's skin was flushed with new life, her tiny fingers curling instinctively around Emily's thumb. Annabelle gasped as her own daughter was placed into her arms moments later. 2 new voices, 2 new lives, crying into a world they had fought fiercely to join. Scout lifted his head proudly, watching over his pack. Officer Tom appeared at the door, removing his hat. "The chief wanted me to tell you," he said, voice thick. "1 more hour out there, and all 4 of you would have frozen before we found you. You saved each other." Emily pressed a trembling kiss to her newborn's forehead. "We are not alone anymore," she whispered to Scout, to Annabelle, to herself. Outside, dawn broke over Silver Creek, pale light reaching through the storm's end. Hope had survived the night. On the coldest night of her life, Emily believed she was completely alone. But God sent her a frightened mother in need of help, a loyal dog who refused to give up, and the miracle of 2 precious lives fighting to be born. Sometimes, God doesn't calm the storm. He sends a guide to walk you through it. It may be a friend, it may be a stranger, sometimes it's the dog who lies quietly by your side every night. In our daily lives, it's easy to feel lost or abandoned, to believe that our trials are too heavy to carry. But somewhere out there, someone needs you, and someone else is praying for you to find them. Miracles aren't distant or mysterious. A miracle is when we never leave each other behind. That night, God showed 2 mothers, 2 babies, and 1 brave German shepherd, that none of us are meant to weather the storm alone, that every breath we take is proof that hope still lives. And if you are watching this right now, God wants you to know He is holding your hand. He has not forgotten you, and He has a beautiful purpose for your life. A message just for you. Write your prayer in the comments below. Let us lift each other up as God listens from above. May God bless you and your family. May He heal your heart and ease your burdens. May He guide you toward the miracle waiting for you.